How much does it cost to sell a house in Edmonton? We're going to talk about that in this video. So maybe you're thinking about selling a house and you're just wondering what is entailed to sell your house. You know you have to pay a realtor if you're using one, and maybe that's all you have to pay. Actually, no, there's a lot more involved, and I'm also going to talk to you about what we incur as realtors as cost of selling your home also, so it gives you a little bit more insight of all what is required to sell your house. So first off, when you look at selling your house, there's the cost of just preparing your home for sale. So you have to take a look at how you're going to get your house ready for sale. Is the house empty? Do you need to stage the property? Do you need to buy some things to make your house look a bit nicer? Do you need to paint your house? You probably do. If you've lived in your house more than a couple years, paint is always a good idea. And one of the best things to get your money back is by painting, because it's not going to cost you that much money and it's going to give you at least $5,000 extra in resale value. Now obviously it depends on the size of your house and the color of paint you choose, because if you choose to paint those walls a really weird color, it's not going to increase the value, it probably will decrease the value of your home. Now there's other things you can do in the house that you can spend money to prepare it. Maybe you need to fix those shingles, maybe you need to fix the lawn or the outside. There may be some little minor fixes you want to consider. So that obviously has a variety of costs, anywhere from $20 all the way to thousands of dollars if you're doing new furnace, hot water tank. And should you do those things? That's a good question to ask your realtor when we sit down and talk to you about your home value of what it is worth today as is, and if you were to do those different things, what kind of value is added. Then you can decide if it's worth it, and also take into consideration the kind of market you're selling in, because if the buyers really want this done and it's more of their market versus a seller's market, you probably want to do as much as you possibly can. If it's a seller's market, you can probably get away with doing less. I'm always of the mindset that we want to have your house shown the best, because even if it's a hot market, people will pay even more money for your house when it is fully done and move-in ready. Now, one of the other things that you want to consider doing, and it is a requirement of a seller to provide this to the buyer, is getting a real property report. So that does cost money if you don't already have one. It costs about $600 approximately. You need to have a surveyor come and survey your property. It's going to give you a big piece of paper, well, technically a PDF, of the house, your fence line, your deck, your shed, and then it gets sent to the city to ensure that you have permits for everything and then it's compliant. So this is something that's required, and it's a cost of selling your house because the lawyers are going to need this at that stage. Now we always ask for it at the beginning because you want to order that before, in case somebody wants a quick possession, and this is not usually something that happens within 5 days. You can rush it, but then of course the cost goes up for a rush. So you want to make sure you consider the cost of an RPR. All right, so also what you want to do beforehand, before you sell the house, is also talk to your mortgage broker or your bank. Whoever you have your mortgage with, you need to find out all the details. This is a cost that a lot of people don't consider and don't think, because they think, oh, I'm just moving to the next house, I'm just gonna move my mortgage. Now, first of all, you have to check if your mortgage is portable. Not all of them can be ported, and that interest rate that you have at your house is not necessarily gonna be the same as the one at the next house, because especially if you're upgrading, you're gonna be getting a little bit more mortgage and they're gonna blend the rates. Now, that's only if you can port. You have to see if there's a cost in doing that. If you're just paying the mortgage outright and starting a new mortgage, or not having another mortgage at all, you have to look at the payout penalty. Now, if you just renewed your mortgage last year, 2 years ago, your penalty likely will be higher than if you are just at the end of your term. Now, you want to take a look at the term of your mortgage, because sometimes it's 5 years, sometimes it's 3 years, 2 years, and there's different penalties. The rule of thumb is the closer to the end of your term, usually the less fees to pay it out. Now, again, you need to talk to your bank specifically, because sometimes you're in what's called a collateral mortgage. Now, for more information on what a collateral mortgage is and to see if you have one, definitely talk to your broker. Stacey Petruk is one we work with and highly recommend, because some of these mortgages you didn't know you were signing at the time of, and they have even more substantial fees to pay out. The interest rate and what it is today versus the interest rate and what you got and the terms, those all play a factor. So what they'll do is tell you what you would be paying out as of today's date if you were to pay it out. Obviously, we haven't sold your house yet, so that number will change, but that's all they will kind of stick to. They don't want to promise you what the fee will be later. So it's important that you understand that, because that's also part of the cost of selling your house. You also want to check to see if there's a discharge fee, because mortgages sometimes have an additional fee on top of the payout penalty. They might also have a discharge fee to actually pay the mortgage out, since it's administration cost. And of course, you want to know how much mortgage is left for you to pay. So we're all going to take that into consideration to figure out your net numbers. Now, if you can recall when you first got your mortgage, if there was any incentives, if you got a mortgage that was zero down way back when, or if there was some sort of cash back at the time when you could do mortgages like that, keep in mind those typically also have more fees to pay out, but again, make sure you check and call your bank. All right, so another cost of selling your house in Alberta is lawyer fees. You do need to use a lawyer here in Alberta to close your transaction. So that fee for the selling side is typically less than when you're buying a house. When you're selling a house, it's around $1,000 approximately, all the way maybe up to $1,500 if you budget for that. It all depends on what's called disbursements. There are costs incurred that lawyers don't know if they're going to have or not, and that's things to do with helping you pay out your city taxes. If the house is sold in August and you've paid taxes till December, it's prorated, so you get that money back in the legal transaction when it's closing. They kind of coordinate all that stuff. The buyer side is the one figuring out the mortgage, the new mortgage, but your selling side is figuring out how to pay out the mortgage with your bank and figuring out all those different things to kind of compile together so that you are able to close and sell the house. The lawyers then have all that done. They send a statement over to the buyer's lawyer, and the buyer's lawyer sends funds to your lawyer. Then once the money is received, they notify the selling agent, and then we notify the buying agent that keys can be released on the day of. So the lawyers are very much involved with the transaction after conditions have been removed, because they're the ones that actually formally pretty much package your house up and get it ready to be completely sold, and they handle that end of the transaction. Now, what about realtor fees? That's always a question, and people think, well, maybe I can save $1 here or there if I get a realtor that's cheaper, or I'll just sell it myself and make more money. I can't control my mortgage payment, and what's left on my mortgage. The lawyer fees are pretty much all the same. There's not a whole lot of difference in fees there. Maybe the realtor fees can change, because realtors do charge different amounts. The majority of us do charge a similar amount here in Alberta, and that is 7% on the first 100,000 and 3% on the remaining balance plus GST. Now, what is that amount? That amount includes both buyer agent commission and seller agent commission. So you only pay one fee. And when you are selling your home, there's typically always a buyer agent involved, because for buyers, they don't pay that fee, you do as a seller. So they're getting their own representation to help them purchase a property. So when you are looking at selling your house, you should really make sure you always accommodate that amount, because no matter where you sell, that agent cannot work for free and is going to want to get paid. And that is what they would typically get paid on any other property. Now let's talk about the selling agent side. What if you just sell it on your own? At least you save half of the commission, right? Well, that's not completely correct. We, as a professional realtor that works full-time, that provides services to you, I know the market. I know the marketing that we're going to invest in is going to make a huge difference in terms of selling your house quicker and for more money. How do I know that? Well, first of all, if your house sells quicker, it's always going to make more money, because it costs you money to sit on the market. It doesn't matter if it's a declining market. Now, if it's an inclining market where the market's hot and crazy, sitting on the market potentially can make you more money. However, that being said, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about a normal balanced market, because Alberta typically, for the most part, is a balanced market. You want to make sure that that property does move, and pricing too high of the price that you think it should be and just sitting will actually allow you to sell your house for even less than maybe what market value was at the time that you listed your home. So this is all to do with if you choose a realtor to work with or not a realtor to work with. Pricing your house too high is always going to make a negative impact on your home. When you work with a realtor like myself to help you sell your house, we are doing all these things to expand exposure. We want to have as many eyes on the property as possible to increase the most amount of people coming into your home. This is our full-time job. This is what we do. This is why I have assistants supporting me to ensure that we're able to do this full-time. If you are working full-time, or even if you stay at home, this is not what you do on a regular daily basis. We sell homes all the time, every month, every year, and a high volume allows us to have experience to know how to make sure to mark your house, where it needs to be marketed, and how frequently it needs to be marketed in order to get your house sold. Now let's talk about those costs. The costs that I incur specifically on my listings are marketing, and what marketing means is any advertisements we're taking on social media, any organic work that we do that may not cost money, it costs us time, and it costs my time of my assistants and myself. So that is in theory also money, and we are putting in hours to make sure that we're marketing your property not only to the biggest reach possible on our YouTube channel, on Instagram, on Facebook, and LinkedIn. We're also doing this with our agents locally, making sure that I'm reaching out to agents, letting them know, networking with them to let them know about your property. So those are all costs that incurred. Now, of course, there's professional photos. You have to check to see if the agent you're looking at does do professional photos. We do professional photos. We do professional video in order to maintain like the best and showcase your home the best. We also incur the cost of making sure your house is staged and looks great. So we have a professional in-house stager that will give you the advice to help you set your home up. And we also provide little greeneries to finish up your home and if you need staging for vacant properties. These are all costs that are incurred. Now, these costs vary depending on realtor to realtor. Not every realtor does these things and they have different costs. So why would you pick a realtor that's gonna cost you more money than the one that might give you a discount? That's your decision. You've got to make sure that whoever is representing your home is going to make sure that they know how to negotiate and keep the value of your home, because you want top dollar. So you want somebody to represent, to do everything possible for you to get top dollar, because that at the end of the day is going to be very, very costly to you and an expense that you may not actually see on the ledger line because you think this is what my house sold for. Here's all the hard costs like the lawyer, the mortgage, the realtor, the RPR cost, but you're not seeing that the cost of selling your home, if you don't pick the right representation, you could end up selling your house for significantly less. Maybe it's only $5,000, maybe it's 10, maybe it's 20, but how would you know? You want to make sure you've made the right decision so that it doesn't cost you in a way that you didn't plan for in cost when you're looking at the cost of selling a house.